My childhood friends started to dislike me, calling me a clingy, self-conscious stutterer. After I repeated a year and got into his school, he was annoyed and made every effort to distance himself from me. But he didn't know that I wasn't there for him. Later, I overcame my stutter, and during the freshman representative speech, I sincerely expressed my gratitude to the person I was most thankful for, my brother. My childhood friend stood up in a daze, but he was held down by another person. His roommate laughed arrogantly and carelessly. "Bro, step aside. You're blocking my little sister from giving me flowers." On the day we filled out our college applications, Hao, who hadn't contacted me for a long time, texted me for the first time. "Which school did you apply to?" "Jingxiang." "He is at this university." Hao was silent for a while and then replied, "Why did you specifically choose Jingxiang?" "Never mind. I'll pick you up on the first day of school. I'll send you some money to buy some nicer clothes. Don't show up looking shabby, or your new classmates might dislike you." I was stunned, feeling a sour pain in a place in my heart called self-esteem. "And don't bother me every day like you used to." He sent me a voice message, his tone calm and resigned. "For the last time, you luo, I understand you lack love, but you need to learn to be independent. Stop treating me like your savior, okay?" My mom was lying on the kang next to me. She couldn't read, but she asked me to send a lot of words thanking Hao for taking care of me. She happily said that in the future, I would have an old hometown friend at the university, so I wouldn't have to fear being bullied anymore. She raised her hand and gently touched the scar that ran from my earlobe to the back of my head. "In the future, if something happens, don't keep it to yourself. Mom can't get to you in time, but you have your brother Hao. He's been protecting you since you were little, so I can rest easy." I didn't let my mom hear the voice message Hao sent. I held my phone looking down in silence. On the screen, glowing with blue light, appeared my final reply. "Okay, I won't trouble you anymore." My mom named me Yu Luo, hoping I would be graceful and poised. Unfortunately, I let her down. I was naturally introverted and had a stutter. Whenever I was in social situations, I could feel the other person's embarrassment. This condition was hard to cure. Since elementary school in the village, I tried my best to avoid speaking, not making friends with other kids, and not answering teachers' questions. "Don't be so antisocial. People won't like you." Everyone said that, except Hao. "If you don't want to talk, then don't. You're quiet and well-behaved. It's quite cute." He protected me, baring his teeth in a fight with the chubby kid who pulled my hair. Holding back tears, I applied herbal medicine to the swollen spot on his forehead. Since that day, Hao often took me to play and even asked me to call him brother. It's very simple, right? The young boy's fair face was still bruised, but he smiled happily. Since then, the word brother, like mom, gave me a warm feeling of being protected whenever I said it. But later, Hao, who moved away from the village to live in the big city, gradually changed. I sent him many text messages, talking about things in the village and at school. At first, he replied, but later he got tired of responding. One dark night during my third year of high school, I was in an alley with a cut running from my earlobe to the back of my head and my school uniform collar soaked in blood. I trembled as I sent Hao a text message from the hospital. "Hao, I want to tell you something." Just after I sent it, he replied instantly. "You Luo, I don't have time to listen to your trivial matters. We're about to take the college entrance exam. Focus on studying, okay?" That's it. I'm turning off my phone. Don't contact me again. I quietly watched my phone screen go dark, and the light that had once shone brightly in my heart seemed to fade away with it. After the college entrance exam, Hao asked me which school I applied to. I said I was repeating a year. He was silent for a long time and didn't ask why, just replied indifferently with an "okay." "You can't be distracted. It will definitely affect your grades. You Luo, you need to keep your mind clear in the future." On the day of registration, I was drenched in sweat from carrying heavy luggage and looking around aimlessly at the high-speed rail station, but there was no sign of Hao. He replied to my message, saying he was busy and had forgotten, asking me to wait for a while. After waiting for half an hour, I finally saw two tall boys walking towards me, one behind the other, in the crowd. For a moment, I was stunned. When He Hao's mother remarried a wealthy businessman and took him away from our small mountain village, we were in the 3rd year of junior high school. It had been 4 years since then. He Hao had completely shed his childishness, looking handsome and bright, attracting people's attention. I started to feel inexplicably nervous again, my palms sweating, and couldn't help but call out, "Brother, Yuluo Luo, what kind of taste do you have, picking such an ugly color for a dress?" He Hao's first words as he walked up to me left me at a loss. I lowered my head and clutched the corner of my pale yellow dress. I wanted to say that my mom picked it out. She liked it a lot, and so did I. However, my stuttering problem kicked in again. I only managed to say half of it before He Hao furrowed his brows and sighed in resignation. "I get it. If talking is hard for you, just say less. This is my roommate. You can let him carry the other 2 suitcases." The person beside him leisurely took off his mask. A slender hand took my luggage, and at the same time, I met a familiar pair of eyes with a hint of a smile. "Hello, little sister. Welcome to Jingxiang." I stared at him blankly. The world is truly small. Fate is also quite coincidental. Bu Chongyuan, my high school desk mate before I repeated a year, turned out to be He Hao's roommate. To be honest, I didn't recognize him with the mask on. He had changed so much. He used to be a rebellious teenager with dyed white hair. Now he seemed to have toned down a lot. He was really quite special. I could still remember his lazy demeanor, spinning a pen absent-mindedly while listening to the class beside me. And I couldn't forget how he carried me out of the alley, the scent of pear blossoms wafting past my nose in the night breeze. "What are you staring at?" Bu Chongyuan seemed to find it amusing and drawled, dragging out the words with a smirk. "Little sister?" He Hao walked too fast, so I could only follow Bu Chongyuan's leisurely pace. He was humming a song, and the Nanjing lock on his wrist swayed back and forth. He suddenly turned his head and started a conversation. "So the city brother you wrote about in your high school essays was He Hao?" I nodded slightly, lowering my eyes to avoid his thoughtful gaze. In the past, when I was quietly doing my homework, Bu Chongyuan had curiously asked, "Do you like that brother of yours?" Like? It was more like admiration than liking. He was popular, good grades, and used to treat me very well. Although he no longer cared how tall the small tree he planted on the hill back home had grown, nor what had become of the small convenience store we used to frequent in junior high. I regretted that we had grown further apart. Occasionally, he would suddenly send me a few messages. "Have you seen the latest movie? The lead actor is super cool. The new Starbucks drink tastes like dishwater. My stepdad gave me a lot of pocket money. Do you want some milk tea? I'll order it for you." I think he was telling me that I hadn't been forgotten. But He Hao. We don't have cinemas or Starbucks here. Not even takeout. I'm an outdated, unfit friend from his old hometown. Want me to help you chase after him? I was surprised and looked at Bu Chongyuan. He seemed serious. Seeing me shake my head in panic, he laughed again. "Just kidding. I don't have that much free time." Indeed, still the same unpredictable, carefree, dominant student. After completing my registration and organizing my dorm bed, I received a text message from my mom. "Did you get to school safely? Remember to thank your brother Hao. Did you give him the jar of pickles I made? I remember he loved eating it when he was young." The jar of pickles was right next to me. He Hao had left too quickly earlier, and when I took out the jar, he had already dragged Bu Chongyuan away. I was silent for a while, then replied to my mom, saying I would deliver it later. When I mentioned that Bu Chongyuan was He Hao's roommate, my mom got so agitated that she called me. "Luoluo, do you remember what I told you? Stay away from those kinds of people." I stammered and explained, "No, Mom, he's really nice." "You forgot how he got you into so much trouble before? Every time I think about it, I want to cry. Those heartless thugs." "Mom," I couldn't control my emotions and stopped her loudly. "It wasn't his fault. He saved me." I had explained countless times, but my mom stubbornly believed that because I was friends with Bu Chongyuan back then, I was targeted by the bullies, which led to me being bullied so badly that I ended up hospitalized with a concussion, and my college entrance exam results suffered. It's not like that, Mom. They just chose me, the one who had no protection. The stutterer from the widow's house. Poor and can't even speak properly. Those people laughed uproariously, their faces blurred and twisted. I could no longer open my bruised eyes. So I cried out, "Mom!" They laughed even louder. "Why don't we go to her house and play with her mom too?" To this day, I can't forget the despair when my faith crumbled. Mom wasn't an omnipotent superhero. She worried about food and basic needs, ran around trying to pay off debts, and cried over my father who died in a car accident. Being bullied would only add more weight to her already burdened shoulders. The night was dark, and the pear blossoms were as white as snow. I remembered there was still someone who said he would protect me. "Have you seen Farewell, My Concubine?" In it, Cheng Dai had his mouth poked with a smoking pipe, and then his singing became smooth. What do you think? In the crowd, a boy smoking a cigarette laughed eerily. "If we burn her mouth too, maybe it'll cure her stutter? You truly are cultured, you gay. Come on, hold her mouth open." The first cigarette was pressed onto my tongue. The second one was extinguished in Bu Chongyuan's palm. I only vaguely remember. His earrings sparkled in the moonlight, and his platinum hair gradually turned red with blood. Like a snow wolf, he fought the hyenas. In the end, the boy carried me and ran desperately to the hospital. The night wind was mixed with his sobs and gasps. "Look, the pear blossoms have fallen. My brother came to save me. I just played with her when we were kids. She used to follow me around, calling me brother all the time. She's still like that now." She did well on her exams. Honestly, while Jingxiang isn't bad, it's not her best option. I don't know what she's thinking. She's okay, I understand her mindset. She's insecure and craves love, seeing me as her savior, but I don't like people who are too focused on love. It's a bit annoying. I didn't know who He Hao was talking to on the phone. I stopped, holding the jar of pickles my mom made, and quietly listened at the stairwell corner. I inexplicably remembered when He Hao transferred schools in the 3rd year of junior high. He had solemnly told me, "Keep in touch often." Our 7 years of friendship are precious. From junior high to high school, boys grow and develop quickly. Meanwhile, their thoughts can also change overnight. You want to meet her? It's not impossible, but she has a bit of a problem. Haha, no, not her brain, her mouth. She stutters, can't speak properly. The setting sun fell in the sky, and my shadow trembled slightly. At that moment, He Hao noticed me. I stood in the shadows, looking at him. He hung up the phone, looking a bit uneasy. "When did you get here?" "Mom wanted me to, thank you." I handed him the jar of pickles and turned to leave, but suddenly I was pulled back. He Hao lowered his head and said in a muffled voice, "I'm used to being casual with my friends. Don't mind it. Let's talk openly. I know you've liked me since you were young, but we're really not suitable. That's why I speak harshly to you. I'm like this with all my friends. Do you understand?" He Hao probably thought I would break down. He even took out a pack of tissues from his pocket. Since I loved to cry when I was a child, he sighed, waiting for my tears. But I just nodded and said to him, "I understand." I had stopped caring a long time ago, but ironically, because of my stutter, even my explanation sounded weak. I don't have that kind of feeling for you. I won't bother you in the future." He Hao's expression became a bit complicated, and he paused. The air was silent for a while. I then asked, "Where is Bu Chongyuan? Why are you looking for him?" I looked at He Hao as if he were a strange creature. "To thank him. Just to give him these pickles?" He Hao clicked his tongue. "I guarantee that as soon as he takes them, he'll throw them in the trash the next second." "Really? But I remember when I used to bring food to school, Bu Chongyuan would always pretend to be pitiful and ask, 'Little deskmate, can you give me a bite of your pickles?'" I hesitated. After all, I wasn't sure if his tastes had changed, so I carefully asked, "Then, what does he like?" "Come on, Lolo, he just helped you out casually. You don't need to pester him with thanks. It's annoying." He Hao concluded, "This is all due to your lack of social interaction. Let me introduce you to some new friends. Maybe it will even cure your stutter." He took me to a luxurious club. In the private room, the music was hypnotic and the crowd was restless. A refined and stylish girl greeted us warmly when she opened the door. "He Hao, you're here." She glanced at me, then looked behind me and suddenly pouted. The girl playfully punched He Hao. "Didn't I ask you to bring Brother Bu as well? Where is he?" He Hao naturally picked up a wine glass. Don't make it hard for me. I really can't get him to come. Humph, you always lie. After I sat down, I awkwardly placed my hands on my knees. I felt out of place here. This wasn't the kind of social setting I had imagined. The girl came over and started a conversation with me. A hand with nails adorned with rhinestones handed me a glass of orange liquor. She smiled at me. Hi there, I'm Lin Shu. What's your major? I'm in broadcasting and hosting. She spoke very quickly. I tried my best to respond normally. I'm Yulo Luo, computer, science. Lin Shu instantly burst out laughing. She tilted her head and clinked glasses with He Hao. This is the first time I've seen someone speak one word at a time. It's really interesting. He Hao glanced at me. She was born this way. Well, then there's no way I can cure that. The flashing lights, the smell of alcohol and smoke, all made me uncomfortable. When I went outside for some air, I opened my phone and stopped at the contacts page. Apart from my mom and He Hao, there was also a string of numbers without a name. I stared at it for a long time. Hey, little stutterer. My shoulder was suddenly tapped, and I accidentally pressed the call button. My phone was old, and the touch screen wasn't very responsive. I fumbled, pressing several times before ending the call. The one who tapped me was Lin Shu. She smiled with her eyes lowered, showing unconscious pity and contempt. He Hao asked me to take you out. He really is. Lin Shu didn't finish her sentence, but I already understood the underlying meaning. I was destined not to fit into their circle. I once asked Buchong Yuan what wealthy students in big cities were like. He yawned lazily and pointed at himself. Like me. Are they all non-mainstream? I tilted my head, asking sincerely. The white-haired boy with earrings chuckled and pinched my cheek, grinning arrogantly. They're all jerks. Lin Shu's perfume drifted into my nostrils. The loud music and cheers were about to pierce my eardrums. Suddenly, I missed the pear blossoms of my hometown. I missed the faint scent on Buchong Yuan's collar. Lin Shu lit a slim cigarette. It's not that we can't talk. Like you, I'm also a repeat student. I used to be in the same class as He Hao in high school. You got into Jingxiang for him. I did for another person. She exhaled a puff of smoke, sighing, I've seen handsome guys, but none as arrogant as him. I could guess who she was talking about. I listened silently. He Hao asked him what kind of girls he liked, and he said he only liked those who didn't like him back. Lin Shu snorted at this and said, Don't you think this guy is crazy? I nodded in agreement. She continued, But I'm just as crazy as he is. Lin Shu looked meaningfully at He Hao, who was walking towards us. I don't like those who chase me. I only want the one who ignores me. He Hao naturally took Lin Shu's cigarette away. I told you not to smoke. Aren't you afraid of hurting your voice? His tone was resigned, but not as annoyed as when he criticized my dress. Lin Shu playfully stuck out her tongue. Why do you care so much? Should I call you Brother He Hao? The boy, who had been frowning, immediately blushed. Oh, he likes her, and she likes someone else, so that's how it is. Before returning to the private room, Lin Shu glanced at me, her smile like a proud, playful cat. She whispered to me, See, you also like someone who doesn't like you. How pitiful. Lin Shu is a very confident girl. I think it's because she's never lacked anything since she was young, and she can't tolerate losing something that belongs to her. So even though I posed no threat in her eyes, she still had to show off like a queen patrolling her territory. He Hao is hers. I thought this behavior was childish, but I couldn't help wondering, if she knew that the person I really wanted was Buchong Yuan, what would her reaction be? Maybe she would laugh. Laugh at my overestimation of myself. My thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of a phone. Seeing that string of numbers on the screen, I didn't think twice and answered, but my mind was blank. Yulo Luo. Hearing that low, tired voice, I made a sound. He chuckled softly, like a cat's tail brushing across my heart. Why did you call me earlier? I felt embarrassed. I pressed the wrong button. Really? Really? He didn't speak again, and the silence was so intense that I could only hear my heartbeat. After about half a minute of mutual silence, I said, Sorry for bothering you. I was about to hang up when he suddenly spoke. You're not bothering me. I paused. The midsummer night breeze brushed my neck. His voice was lazy and gentle. Talk more. I want to listen. After the college entrance exam that year, I never contacted Bu Chongyuan again. Ever since my mom saw me lying in the hospital bed, barely alive, she stayed by my side constantly. She loved me, so she hated everyone who hurt me. After she reported the incident to the police, she heard those thugs at the station saying they thought I was Bu Chongyuan's girlfriend, which is why they targeted me. Who told him to be so arrogant every day? With that white hair, acting all high and mighty, does coming back from Tianjin make him so great? Now he's still living in this shabby county town, looking down on everyone, and dating a stutterer. What a joke. I heard that several people had to hold Bu Chongyuan back to stop him from beating those thugs again. When my mom returned, she silently peeled an apple by my hospital bed. Outside the ward, Bu Chongyuan knocked on the door, carrying several boxes of supplements. His once rebellious hair and earrings looked much duller. He spoke cautiously. "Auntie, I brought these for Luo Luo." My mom interrupted him. "Please don't come here again. Please, I'm begging you." There was a long, long silence. I only remember the incessant cicada chirping that day, how everything hurt so much, and the unusually hot tears from my mother falling on my hand. An indescribable, intense sadness weighed on my heart like a foggy cloud. It wouldn't dissipate or dissolve. Unforgettable. During my repeat year, his photo was on the school's honor board from the previous class. I passed by the honor board repeatedly, occasionally stopping to stare. As the evening study bell rang, the last ray of light reluctantly moved away from his cold, tired eyes. I softly murmured, "Jingxiang University, Bu Chongyuan. Long time no see." I had practiced this phrase countless times, without stuttering. And, "Thank you." But before I could say it, a drunken man bumped into me. "Hey, beauty, let's get to know each other, huh? I'm in the same year as Brother Hao. Don't be so shy." His hand landed on my shoulder. I suddenly shook his arm off and glared at him coldly. The man muttered, "What a bad temper," and then walked away. Putting the phone back to my ear, I heard Bu Chongyuan slowly ask, "Where are you?" "White Moon, Club." "Are you with your brother He Hao?" I answered truthfully, "Yes." There was a 2-second silence on the other end. Humph. Bu Chongyuan suddenly hung up. I stared blankly at the beeping tone. "Huh?" After a while, he sent me a message. "I'm coming to steal the show. Your brother won't be mad at me, right?" When I returned, I happened to hear He Hao complaining to Lin Shu. It's weird. This guy originally said he wasn't interested in coming, but now he's asking for the room number. Lin Shu's eyes lit up, and she couldn't suppress her smile. I just messaged Brother Boo, saying I wanted him to come celebrate the start of my college life. I didn't expect he would actually come. She took out a small mirror and smiled brightly as she touched up her makeup. He Hao's expression froze. "Really?" Lin Shu playfully nudged him with her elbow. "He Hao, if I win over Brother Boo, I won't forget you as the matchmaker." He Hao smiled but said nothing. He took out a lighter and put a cigarette in his mouth, but no matter how many times he tried, he couldn't get it to light. I casually picked up a box of matches from the table and handed it to him. He looked up and met my gaze, looking slightly surprised, unexpectedly. When He Hao took the matchbox, he held my hand. He sat next to me, his voice low, with a slightly bitter smile. He said, "Lo Luo, luckily you're here." I was so scared that I quickly pulled my hand away. Just then, Bu Chongyuan pushed the door open, the Nanjing lock on his wrist glinting with a cold, hard light. The room fell silent, and even the drunkest person sobered up a bit. Bu Chongyuan's fringe was slightly ruffled by the wind, making his features look even more striking and sharp. His gaze swept over the crowd and landed on me. My heart skipped a beat. Bu Chongyuan walked over unhurriedly. He smiled slightly. "What game are you playing? Getting so close?" Someone in the room shouted, "Brother Hao and she aren't playing. They're whispering secrets." The troublemakers all made ambiguous teasing noises. He Hao first looked at Lin Shu standing beside Bu Chongyuan and saw her smiling too. He then nonchalantly waved his hand and shrugged. "You guys go ahead and have fun. Don't mind me and Luo Luo catching up." Hearing this, the others laughed a couple of times and let it go. But Bu Chongyuan raised an eyebrow. "How come when we picked up people this afternoon, I didn't notice you were so eager to catch up?" He Hao was speechless and didn't know how to respond for a moment. Bu Chongyuan sat down beside me, casually picking up a deck of cards from the table. Lin Shishu leaned in with a sweet smile. "Brother Boo, we'll be schoolmates from now on. Please take care of me." She was very pretty, her smile like a little fox's, and her way of conversing was lively and charming. She could liven up the atmosphere, even making jokes at just the right moments, bringing joy to everyone. Besides Hey How, other guys at the table were also very interested in her. "I already saw you on the campus forum, and I heard that you've already been signed by Juxing Media." "Wow, is that the agency founded by the national actor Bu Chi? That's awesome. Shishu, you'll be hanging out with stars every day from now on." Lin Shishu smiled and shook her head. No, I've just started, and I've only met Mr. Bu Chi and a few actors preparing for their debut." "Wow, they must be super good looking," a girl opposite me said enviously. Lin Shishu glanced at Bu Chongyuan, who was absent-mindedly shaking dice with his face propped up. "Of course, but I think Brother Bu is even better than them." Her eyes curved with her smile, and a faint blush spread across her fair face. Anyone could see where Lin Shishu's heart lay. The others exchanged gossiping glances while He Hao drank a glass of wine by himself. Only Bu Chongyuan leaned back casually on the sofa and turned to me. "What do you think? Does this little sister think I'm good-looking?" He was very close to me, so close that I could clearly see my own stunned reflection in his dark pupils. Everyone was staring at me in unison. This tingling sensation on my scalp brought me back to the first day, first birthday. Bu Chongyuan transferred to our high school. He had swaggered to the front of the class and asked boldly, "Who's the top student here?" I raised my hand in confusion. The boy with dyed white hair strode over to me, tilting his head with a smirk that begged to be punched. "I only sit with the best." His carefree attitude, disregarding everyone else, hadn't changed a bit. I put down the watermelon slice I had just taken a bite of and nodded awkwardly, agreeing with his words. Bu Chongyuan's smile widened. Lin Shishu's expression, however, became a bit unusual. She lowered her head. When she looked up again, she no longer focused on Bu Chongyuan, but raised her glass to me with a smile. "We've been talking all this time, and you haven't properly introduced yourself. I really want to hear you speak. You look so sweet, and your voice is so nice." Malice. For a moment, I sensed Lin Shishu's malice. She reminded kids in elementary school who bullied me in class. "Teacher, Yu Luo knows the answer to this question. Let her explain it." Back then, I was too young to understand malice. I only remembered standing at the front of the class, trying hard to explain the solution, while everyone held back their laughter, including the teacher. After that, I refused to answer questions. I also became keenly aware of who was genuinely encouraging me and who just wanted to see me embarrass myself. Lin Shishu looked at me with a smiling face, and the others unconsciously followed her lead. "Yeah, we're here to make friends today." "Brother Hao, your friend is very introverted." He Hao whispered in my ear, "Shishu is giving you a chance to show yourself. Just introduce yourself. Don't be so antisocial. Don't be so antisocial. People won't like you." Now, even He Hao was saying the same thing. I found it laughable. The first lesson I learned in life was to accept my flaws. "My name is Yulo Luo." I said this calmly, but the breaks in my speech revealed my effort. "Just a name, that's it." Lin Shishu sighed, "That's too little, Luo Luo. At least talk about your hobbies and interests." I looked at her. I refuse. The second lesson in life, firmly refuse offensive requests. At this moment, someone whispered to their companion, "Her personality is quite strange. Small-town girl with low emotional intelligence." The voice wasn't loud, but I could hear it, and so could the others at the table. Lin Shishu maintained her smile, while He Hao, like the others, remained silent. In that quiet moment, I thought, "You guys are really nasty." I was stunned. Looking to my side, Bu Chongyuan had said exactly what I was thinking. The room grew even quieter, and Lin Shishu's smile froze. Bu Chongyuan's gaze lightly swept over the people present, finally settling on the boy who mocked me. Although Bu Chongyuan wasn't wearing earrings and no longer had that intimidating white hair, I inexplicably recalled his rebellious look in high school, as if he were against the whole world. The high school's dominant student, Bu Chongyuan, the reckless madman. Does anyone here actually believe that being born in a city gives them some inexplicable sense of superiority? The boy looked embarrassed. "Brother Bu, I was just making a casual comment. And she does have low emotional intelligence, and she stutters. Maybe there's something wrong with her brain. The wine glass hit the table with a bang. What were your college entrance exam scores and rank that make you think you can judge her intelligence? Bu Chongyuan's long eyes narrowed and his lips curled in sarcasm. The girl in front of you scored the highest among this year's freshmen, topped the honor roll at Yuanshui County #1 High School, received a 10,000 yuan scholarship from the county mayor himself, and got a full scholarship to Jingxiang University. His words were clear, each one a slap in the boy's face. And what about you? Born in a big city, living a privileged life, enjoying top-tier education since childhood, receiving a comprehensive education. Even your college entrance exam scores were significantly lower than those in other regions. Yet you still needed your parents to bribe your way into an expensive special program to squeeze into Jingxiang. Bro, tell me who's really got the brain problem here. The third lesson in life was taught to me by Bu Chongyuan. Smack a fool's face head-on. In the gray Yuanshui County, he was a dazzling, striking, unapologetic white. And in the colorful city, he hadn't changed. How wonderful. That night, the party ended on a sour note, but I was very happy. In the middle of the night, Hihao suddenly messaged me. You and Bu Chongyuan were desk mates before, why didn't you tell me? You used to tell me everything. I was stunned. Hihao seemed to have forgotten that he had once told me he didn't want to hear my trivial stories. I didn't understand why he was asking me this now. Me? What's up? Hihao quickly replied, Don't get too close to him. You two are from different worlds. His world isn't something ordinary people can get involved in. With that, Hihao easily shifted the topic, asking if I wanted him to take me around Jingxiang's famous spots. Your mom called me and asked me to take care of you. I paused at the mention of my mom, but after just 2 seconds of silence, I still refused. No need to trouble you, Hihao. I have other things to do. He was puzzled. You have other things? I checked my schedule and calmly replied, The advisor notified me this afternoon to prepare a speech as the freshman representative. He almost instantly replied, You're giving a speech? Not to be mean, but you know your situation, right? I suggest you tell the advisor to switch you out early. Don't embarrass yourself and make everyone uncomfortable. Hihao naturally assumed I couldn't do it, just like he remained silent when others were belittling me at the party. How nasty. When I was young, I hid behind him, hearing him tell me it was okay. It was okay not to speak. Hihao and my mom would comfort me, urging me to accept my flaws. They assumed I lacked the ability to resist, so they also believed I lacked the courage to fight back. Until an arrogant white-haired boy barged into my dull and quiet life. He said, Little desk mate, I'm going to beat you and become the new top student. He was juvenile, carefree, and so free-spirited that it was almost over the top. Yet he sparked a kind of excitement and spirit in me that I had never felt before. In the subsequent monthly exam, I proved my ability. He ranked just below me by 1 point. I walked through the crowd, checking the rankings, slowly making my way to the classroom. But I saw Bu Chongyuan leaning on the second-floor railing, smiling at me. Little desk mate, don't you think I'm amazing? I was just a bit away from catching up with you. I raised my head and smiled back at him, lifting my arm to give him a thumbs up. I said, I'll be waiting for your next challenge. The tree's shadows swayed. The sun was shining brightly. I heard someone ask Bu Chongyuan, Bro, why is your face red? It's almost autumn and not hot. He swiftly turned around, even the back of his ears turning slightly red. He said it was my smug smile that made him blush with anger. I think it was from that year that I learned something very important, to stand up for myself. The ceremony would be held after the freshman military training, so I had a month. Honestly, a month can't change much. Stuttering is a muscle habit issue. And of course, there are psychological factors of insecurity. But I remember that when I read texts or memorized foreign language sentences in the unnoticed corners of early morning reading sessions, my speech was fluent. I didn't expect my speech to be stirring. I just hoped that I could deliver it smoothly, like reading a text, plain and normal. 2 days after registration, I participated in the military training as usual. After the training ended at 5 p.m., I went to the Jingxiang Park nearby to find a dusty little pavilion where I repeatedly practiced my speech. Bu Chongyuan was my only audience. I had invited him. Why didn't you invite your brother He Hao, but called me instead? He sat opposite me with his chin propped up, smiling. Why? Because of trust, because of fondness, because he wouldn't mock my efforts. But I asked him first, Do you find me annoying? He lowered his eyes. I'm only afraid that this will be the only time you invite me. The first day's attempt was not smooth as I had expected. I lowered my head, silently marking the problematic segments. Feeling down was inevitable, but then a burst of rousing background music from my left ear brought me back. Bu Chongyuan had placed one side of an earphone on me, his fingers leisurely scrolling through the music playlist on his phone. He smiled and said, Add some atmospheric background music, and I guarantee you'll improve quickly. Believe it? I suddenly remembered how he used to recite poems while listening to music through earphones, memorizing them swiftly. So I nodded. I believe. His eyes reflected my image, and with his other hand, he gently patted my back. You Luoluo, I believe in you too. It felt like he was saying something very ordinary, yet it almost brought me to tears. I held back my emotions and flipped the speech back to the first page, starting to recite it again. From dusk till night, he would always applaud for me at the end of each session. Bu Chongyuan, you're not the bad kid my mom said would bring disaster. Meeting you at Yuanshui High School is something I'll always be grateful for. On the 15th day after military training, I felt cool droplets on my face. My first reaction was to message Bu Chongyuan, It's raining. He didn't reply. I went to the dormitory supermarket and bought an umbrella, but after paying, I saw a post trending on the campus forum. Big news! The best actor Bu Chi's illegitimate son is studying at Jingxiang. Scrolling down, I saw Bu Chongyuan's picture attached. The comments were going wild. Whoa, I always thought he was just the campus heartthrob. I even joked with my friends that he looked like a younger version of Bu Chi. Turns out they're actually related. No wonder he looks like an idol. Turns out he's an idol's son. This is hilarious. Bu Chi's current wife must be losing her mind. When they marketed that grand romantic wedding, I bet she never imagined he had a kid this old. Bu Chi is only 40, and this illegitimate son is already 20. The entertainment world sure is open-minded. The post ignited like a spark in a haystack, quickly becoming the top trending topic. Then, all of Bu Chongyuan's life details were dug up. His father, Bu Chi, lived with his mother while working as an extra in Hengdian. The year Bu Chi's first hit show, Moonlight Memories, aired, his mother was pregnant with him. Bu Chi had just started making money and could afford to raise a child, so his mother gave birth to him in a Tianjin hospital, but they never got married. Bu Chongyuan was raised in secrecy. When Bu Chi announced his marriage, Bu Chongyuan and his mother returned to their hometown, Yuanshui, for high school. Later, his mother passed away. In his first semester away at Jingxiang, his mother committed suicide by taking pills. It's been almost a year. Netizens were fervent in their gossip. Whoa, Bu Chi always claimed to be anti-marriage. When he had that grand wedding with Miss Ye, everyone marveled at how true love defeated his anti-marriage stance. Now, looking back, it's really ironic. Someone nearby shouted, "There are so many reporters at the school gate." My heart skipped a beat. Holding my umbrella, I pushed through the crowd of onlookers. Bu Chongyuan was surrounded by reporters in raincoats at the school gate, his face expressionless, his eyes indifferent. I heard someone ask, "Do you know your own background? Did your mother commit suicide because Bu Chi abandoned her? Can you tell us about your mother and Bu Chi's story?" The sounds of rain, camera shutters, and aggressive questioning mixed together. I was almost going crazy from listening. How much worse must it be for Bu Chongyuan in the eye of the storm? He lowered his head and took out his phone. "Are you trying to contact Bu Chi? Answer our questions." "Look at the camera, please." The rain intensified and my phone vibrated. I answered. Bu Chongyuan's slightly hoarse voice came through. He asked, "It's raining. Did you bring an umbrella?" Through the rain and the raised cameras. His gaze was calm, raindrops falling on his brows and lashes, blurring them like a mist. "I don't have an umbrella. I'm really miserable right now." He wasn't going crazy. but I felt suffocated, unable to breathe. I gritted my teeth and squeezed to the front, forcefully pushing away a paparazzo who was taking pictures. Bu Chongyuan still held his phone to his ear. He stared at me in a daze. My hand holding the umbrella trembled slightly. I said, "Come with me." I grabbed his hand and led him back into the campus. Some paparazzi tried to follow us, but I rudely stepped on their feet and kicked their knees. Just like how he carried me towards the hospital under the starry sky, disregarding everything. I firmly pulled him along, escaping from the noisy, turbulent crowd. The rumors online continued to ferment, and the discussions on the campus forum were still at a fever pitch. But Bu Chongyuan didn't check any of it. He just smiled at me in the infirmary. I had overestimated my fighting prowess. While kicking at someone, I embarrassingly fainted due to low blood sugar. This scared the paparazzi, who quickly dispersed, afraid I would blame them for any medical condition. The school doctor gave me 2 chocolates, and within 10 minutes, the symptoms of my dizziness and tinnitus disappeared. When I opened my eyes on the hospital bed, I saw Bu Chongyuan leaning on the bed with his arms, his hands supporting his face, smiling at me. His eyes were bright, like they were filled with stars. He said, "You Luo, you were really cool just now. So cool that it made my heart skip a beat." I felt a little embarrassed. Did I look cool even when I collapsed? Yes. Bu Chongyuan slowly added, "I went from a skipped heartbeat to cardiac arrest." I burst into laughter. The rain had stopped, but his gaze hadn't moved away. He called my name again. "You Luo." I looked up, puzzled. His voice was soft. "You held my hand just now." A gentle breeze blew, and the fragmented light outside the window fell on Bu Chongyuan's hair. I didn't dare look into his eyes. He extended his slender hand, like a prince inviting a princess to dance at a ball. Cautiously probing, but openly indicating. He said, "Can we hold hands every day from now on?" Bu Chi finally issued a statement at midnight, acknowledging Bu Chongyuan's existence while warning the paparazzi to stop harassing him. The most explosive part was his announcement of his divorce from Miss Ye. Rumor had it that Bu Chi had only just learned of his ex-girlfriend's death. He flew to Yuanshui overnight and stayed at her grave all night. Bu Chongyuan was also called back to Yuanshui, taking a week off. During his absence, I found out that the person who posted on the campus forum was Lin Shishu's roommate. She claimed it was inadvertently revealed by Lin Shishu during a chat. Inadvertently? I didn't believe it. On the 20th day, Lin Shishu appeared with a bright smile on my way back to the dormitory. She blocked my way. He Hao said, "You still insist on giving that speech. You sure have perseverance. How about I teach you how to speak, little stutterer?" Seeing me ignore her, Lin Shishu laughed. "You know, even if you got the chance to give a speech as the top student, your stutter will ruin it. No matter how hard you try, you'll never achieve what we get effortlessly." I stopped walking. "We?" She raised an eyebrow. "Don't you understand? You, of all people, should know. You studied hard for years to earn that 10,000 yuan scholarship, while my dad could casually buy me a 10,000 yuan bag. The pile of gifts He Hao received for his 18th birthday was worth at least 100,000 yuan. That's the difference between you and us. And of course, Bu Chongyuan will also become one of us." Lin Shishu leaned closer, speaking each word clearly. "He will reconcile with his father and follow in his footsteps. He belongs to our world. I'm the one who helped him return to the right path faster." She looked very pleased, flicking her hair back as she prepared to leave. "You're the most meddlesome person I've ever met," really opened my eyes. A cold male voice rang out. Lin Shishu froze. I took out my phone from my pocket. When she approached just now, Bu Chongyuan and I happened to be on a video call. In the call, he couldn't suppress his irritation. "Luo, can you slap her twice for me? She's driving me crazy." Bu Chongyuan really hates Bu Chi. He said the grass on his mother's grave was already 2 meters tall, and now this man decides to act all sentimental. It made him sick. Lin Shishu had accurately stepped on Bu Chongyuan's most sensitive nerve. Flustered, Lin Shishu tried to explain, "I didn't post it. I just accidentally told my roommate." At this point, I obediently followed Bu Chongyuan's instruction and slapped her hard. Then I turned around and ran. Her sharp manicure would scratch my face if we really fought. I was a bit scared. Bu Chongyuan didn't expect me to actually hit her. He stood there, stunned, for a long time, dumbfoundedly exclaiming, "That sounded loud. Does your hand hurt?" Finally, he mumbled to himself, "I need to hurry back to school." Worried about potential retaliation against me and unable to get a timely plane or train ticket, he hired a long-distance taxi and rushed from Yuanshui to Jingxiang. Along the way, he also told me that Bu Qi, upon learning that Lin Qishu was the source of the leak, decided not to sign her. While waiting for Bu Chongyuan to return, He Hao appeared in front of me first. In the cafeteria, he sat beside me, looking like he had something to say but couldn't. I could guess that he wanted me to apologize to Lin Qishu. After all, I had hit the girl he liked. But unexpectedly, he just hesitated and asked, "Are you and Bu Chongyuan dating?" I said, "No." He visibly sighed in relief. "I knew it. You two can't possibly be together." I paused, then added, "But soon." He Hao froze. He picked at the food on his plate but didn't eat. He asked, "How long have you liked him?" "A long time." I didn't want to talk much with He Hao. "So you got into Jingxiang for him?" "Yes, of course. Also because Jingxiang offered me a full scholarship." He Hao suddenly let out a light laugh with an indescribable bitterness. "You've changed a lot." "We've known each other for," he calculated, 11 years now. "I remember when you called me brother. You were so obedient, as if I were your guide. Just a wave and you'd come to me. Later, in high school, someone saw the messages you sent me, and they told me that you liked me. They laughed and said you were a simp, and they also laughed at me for liking to string along a little country bumpkin. I felt very uncomfortable." Ah, so that's why he distanced himself from me. Back then, I was young, and I attributed this uncomfortable feeling to you being too annoying and boring, which is why I disliked you. I thought your liking me was a baffling humiliation to me. Actually, his eyes trembled slightly. I hated my own lower-class background, hated being laughed at by classmates who had seen the world for being tasteless like a nouveau riche. I tried desperately to shed my past, to socialize, to integrate into their circles. I finally succeeded in fitting in. But then in college, I met someone who shattered my understanding. He Hao seemed to be pouring out words he had buried for years. He said, "I was really jealous of Bu Chongyuan. He just stood there casually, doing nothing, saying nothing, and people flocked to him, wanting to be friends. Meanwhile, he could yawn and walk away indifferently. The girl I liked fell for him at first sight, saying he had more personality than me. Bu Chongyuan is indeed charming because he excels at being himself." He Hao said that during the drinking party on registration day, watching Lin Qianshu chase after Bu Chongyuan, he suddenly felt very disheartened. He said that seeing me sit there quietly reminded him of himself when he first came to the city. So, he held my hand, wanting to be my guiding brother once again. "After the military training, it'll be the National Day holiday. How about we go back to Yuanshui together? I miss those pear blossoms and Auntie's cooking." I listened quietly. He looked at me with hope. I didn't respond, just lowered my head, letting him see the scar behind my ear. That day, I was thrown against the wall, and a piece of metal on the wall cut through my earlobe, leaving only a thin strip of skin connecting it. Just a little more, and half my ear would have fallen off. With a concussion, I barely made it to the exam hall, but there was no miracle. I fainted midway and was carried out. That's why I had to repeat a year, I slowly told He Hao. Not because I was distracted or couldn't keep my mind clear. He Hao was stunned. I didn't know. Actually, when I was beaten, I called out 2 names. Mom, brother. Mom would chase away barking wild dogs with a broomstick, and brother would teach a lesson to any kids who bullied me. Back then, brother's face was He Hao's smiling one. But as he said, I have changed a lot. I no longer admire He Hao. I realized he was very cowardly, a kind of cowardice that I despise. Swallowing the last bite of my meal, I glanced at the message. Bu Chongyuan said he had taken a 2-day, 1-night taxi ride, and now felt a faint desire to die. As I left the cafeteria to pick up Bu Chongyuan, I cheerfully told He Hao that maybe Lin Xishu did like him after all. She seemed quite possessive of him. He said nothing. "If possible. I want these 2 rich jerks to torment each other a bit. They don't understand respect or how to love. How pathetic." On the 29th day, military training ended early, and Bu Chongyuan dyed his hair back to its brazen white. Beautiful and eye-catching. When you give your speech the day after tomorrow, everyone in the audience will be staring at you. You might get so nervous that you won't be able to speak. He pointed to himself. I guarantee you'll spot me instantly. Just focus on me, and remember, this speech is no different from the countless times you've practiced. That way, you won't be nervous. I nodded. Okay, brother. The shadows of the trees swayed in the dappled light. Bu Chongyuan, as if not hearing clearly, leaned closer. What did you call me? My face flushed instantly, but he cupped my cheeks with both hands, preventing me from lowering my head to avoid his intense gaze. He teased me with a mischievous smile. Say it again. His palms were dry and cool, feeling comfortable against my cheeks, but I also felt a small rough patch in his right palm, a burn scar from protecting me. I tilted my head and nuzzled his palm like a cat. At the same time, I reached out and gently wrapped my arms around his waist. The person who had been so relaxed just a moment ago stiffened completely, remaining motionless. I looked up at him with the most sincere eyes. Thank you, brother. Now, it wasn't just my face that was red. Yay. On the 30th day, my mom suddenly told me she would visit me in a few days. I had no reaction at first, but Bu Chongyuan, holding his head, panicked. Maybe I should dye my hair back to black. Maybe Auntie won't find me so annoying then. I reassured him. Don't worry. During these 30 days, I recorded how Bu Chongyuan encouraged and helped me, and I took many pictures of the special snacks he brought me from Jingxiang. Then I sent them to my mom. My mom still believed Bu Chongyuan was partly responsible for the bullying I endured, but she also saw how good he was to me. Bias and rationality coexisted. On the 21st day, my mom told me, as long as my good girl is doing well, that's all that matters. I don't hate him. I just can't forgive myself. When I lay in the hospital bed, she would say, if, every day. If you hadn't met that strange boy. If I hadn't decided to stay at the stall a bit longer before picking you up that day. If your dad were still here. She would smooth my bangs, tears always brimming in her eyes. My good girl wouldn't have had to suffer so much. From youth to maturity, from ignorance to the pursuit of knowledge, if the theme of life's growth is gratitude, then there are two people I am most grateful for. My mother, who raised and loved me, and my gaze swept over the audience. There were so many people, but I wasn't afraid. And the one who taught me confidence and determination not to fear mockery, and not to follow the crowd, my dear brother. I lowered my eyelashes and looked towards the first row on the right, where Bu Chongyuan sat. He really was dazzling. The sunlight really loved him, and so did I. In this solemn and grand ceremony, I wasn't worried about making mistakes or stuttering. Even as I bowed and stepped off the stage, I was still thinking. The microphone was so close to my heart. Could everyone hear how fast it was beating? Could they hear my unrestrained and proud laughter? After the ceremony, as I walked out from backstage, I held a bouquet of white roses. People leaving the venue cast glances my way, some even stopping to watch. What was going on? They were looking at me like I was about to propose. I paused, walking a bit awkwardly. That person watched me from a distance, smiling. I felt a bit more confident, but suddenly, someone blocked my view. He Hao stepped forward, his eyes flickering slightly. He said, "Luo Luo, you were amazing just now. I didn't realize that in your heart." I looked past him and called out plainly to the person behind him, "Brother." "Hey," Bu Chongyuan responded, his smile particularly arrogant. He patted the stunned Heihao on the shoulder. "Bro, step aside. You're blocking my little sister from giving me flowers." Bu Chongyuan later told me that hearing me call him brother so softly in front of others was exhilarating. He was so jealous of the old Heihao. Later, in the dorm, he took good care of the white roses, telling everyone, "How do you know these are from the freshman representative, Yu Luo Luo?" Yes, the one who gave the speech in the pale yellow dress, the really cute Yu Luo Luo Jr. I even did her hair before she went on stage. Hey. Bu Chongyuan's carefree attitude, ignoring what others thought, was something I could never learn. Oh well, no matter how annoying he could be, I still liked him. The end. Extra. He gave me a gift. It was a key. It was part of the same set as his lock. and the Nanjing lock he originally wore on his wrist was now boldly hanging around his neck, making him look even more unique and extraordinary. He said, "The Nanjing lock punishes those who are unfaithful." We were on the same small boat, holding umbrellas for each other, finally getting through the rainy season of our youth. The sky cleared up. White hair, earrings, Nanjing lock, Bu Chongyuan officially became my lover, never changing.